So, hi everyone, my name is Bridget. I am a recent graduate of Hopkins, and I also am one of the co founders of Wings. Thank you so much for having me. So, I just wanted to answer a few questions about the MPI, to the Menstrual Products Initiative, to celebrate, the work that a lot of students and a lot of really creative and enthusiastic people put effort towards to make a reality in a very short period of time, getting free menstrual products in bathrooms at Johns Hopkins. And so, yeah, I'm here to answer questions about it.
What inspired the Menstrual Product Initiative, aka the MPI?
So rather than calling it inspiration, I would say it was a serendipitous culmination of momentum that came from multiple levels of the university, going from faculty, staff, to students, to administration. There were already years of pushing this initiative on all of those fronts, but no synergistic or coordinated effort to bring all of that energy together. Faculty had an email chain discussing the need for an overt lack of products in bathrooms after they personally experienced or had witnessed students being disrupted in their classes by their periods. Students and student government had an existing but under resources initiative to begin a pilot program, and that stalled in the end because there was no single united effort or team to tackle the issue. Call it luck or coincidence, or what I like to call preparation meeting opportunity, as this conversation was ramping and revving up among faculty and admin and in students. Our organization Wings was founded among students and funded by the Idea Lab grants, which massively recruited students of all years uniquely passionate about menstrual health and equity, and all that provided the people power to push forward the initiative effectively and quickly.
What did the preparation process for the MPI look like, and how long did it take?
So in total, it took from fall of 2018, when we began to assemble these efforts across these different domains, staff, students, faculty. And it took us all the way until February of 2021, so it's a pretty quick and speedy 3-year turnaround to fully institutionalize the program, which compared to our peer universities, like I said, is very accelerated. And we're very fortunate that we have an extremely data-driven administration and institution. Hopkins speaks in facts, figures, stats, data, numbers, cost-benefit analyses. I think that's generally true for administration, but Hopkins definitely. And, it took a data-driven administration, a cooperative team in custodial services, excellent cross-communication between levels of the university. And I keep saying levels, I mean administration, students, staff, having that crosstalk. And then importantly, having allies and advocates and admin to keep our voices, students, uplifted and, constantly on the forefront of higher administration conversations that students usually don't even ever have an audience in, or are never ever able to be an audience of. And so in fall of 2018, just to lay things out of what was the process and what did it entail, fall of 2018, we connected to SGA, we discussed the status of the initiative. Subsequently, we spoke with vendors like Hospico and Aunt Flo and received quotas, costs, sustainability of dispensers and products. Then we crunched some numbers and cost-benefit analyses to see how much it would cost to stock bathrooms and maintain them. Then we distributed a campus-wide survey to assess the climate of the community's perspective on their needs, their menstrual health needs, as well as the potential impact of having menstrual products in bathrooms. Asking questions like, do you face any problems managing your menstrual health, financial, spatial troubles, temporal, unpredictability of the period, emotional troubles, mood perturbations? To what extent do you think that our menstrual products should be equipped and be free in bathrooms? And to what extent are non-menstruators comfortable with having menstrual products in bathrooms, for example, in a men's restroom? Which was largely unremarkable. Most people were like, that's totally fine. And that was surprising and very informative data that was very convincing to administration. And so, after collecting all this data, talking to different vendors about costs, talking to the university community, getting their genuine perspective on whether or not they want and or need these products in bathrooms, which was largely positive and enthusiastic, we presented all of this data to a critical meeting with a bunch bunch of higher administration stakeholders. So I'm talking the Dean of Student Life was in this meeting, Director of Facilities, Custodial Services, Director of Women and General Resources, Finance Deans, and more. We presented all of this data, the numbers, the responses of the community, and, with all of that, all of the people in one room physically and the enthusiastic public face of students presenting this initiative, I think all of those two factors together was pivotal in driving forward the initiative and resulted in the speedy timeline that we achieved in fully implementing and institutionalizing this program. And then finally, in the summer of 2019, we received seed funding, about $6,000 from Women General Resources Department. One of our advisors and very large supporters of WINGS, Dr. Janine Haynes, she's the former WGR director. She provided us that funding. She really believed in this effort, and that was critical for us to fund a pilot program that took place in spring of 2020. In that short period of time between summer of 2019 to spring 2020, we pulled together a strong, 40-plus student team to plan out the logistics and execute a 10-week pilot program. Of course, as we know, it was hugely successful, and even though it had to be terminated early because of the pandemic, it was largely successful. There was more than enough data, publicity, and positive feedback and support on all fronts to make a very compelling argument that, there's a need. People have verbalized and vocalized their needs through the survey responses, and officially it's been demonstrated in the numbers and the data and the pilot program that this is a highly utilized program at Hopkins, and it would really, really benefit the community by being fully institutionalized. And so despite the pandemic, we were able to move forward, and as things normalized and the university sort of went out of the red zone in terms of their finance troubles, by fall of 2021, just this last fall, the program was fully expanded and institutionalized.
The challenges that you had when implementing the MPI.
Okay, so some challenges were getting the important stakeholders in one conversation. I think we lucked out that that we managed to get a lot of those stakeholders is because we had advocates as well as just people who were on the inside. So the Director of Women General Resources was our advisor, and so she knew how these conversations evolved. And she would advise us to say, okay, well, this is how you should frame it. You should be positive about this. Sure, you're angry that there's no menstrual products in bathrooms at the moment, but you should frame it in a way that you're trying to speak to the numbers, the stats, and describe the potential benefit to the community that these menstrual products would have in those types of metrics, because that's what higher admin is looking for. They understand that this is meaningful. They're going to want to fund it, but there's only so much money that can be distributed from the pot. So how can you make a compelling argument that this money should be spent this way? And so we had very, very important advice on, guiding these conversations, timing when we should distribute data and communicate with higher admin. So, one of the biggest challenges of implementing the MPI was literally the pandemic, which is unforeseeable. No one ever saw it coming, but we were on track of getting green light from administration due to the hugely successful pilot program. But once the university was hit financially very hard by the pandemic, all ambulatory surgeries by the hospital were canceled, and a lot of the income that the university normally gets otherwise was shut off. And so where are they going to get this money to fund a pilot program when students aren't even on campus? Or not pilot program, a fully funded menstrual products initiative. So fortunately, again, like I said, we were very well supported, and they made us aware of when we should be tactfully reintroducing this initiative into conversations again once the university was back into the green zone again in terms of finances. Keeping momentum. I think that there are other challenges that are more universal across different universities that wasn't Hopkins specific or pandemic specific. And this is something that I'm certainly facing at my new institution, of which I'm also trying to implement the Menstrual Products Initiative here at Yale. And so, globally, it's a more of a universal problem is that just the turnover of student passion and willpower. We're only here for 4 to 6 years at a time, whether we're undergrads, graduate students. And so that cycling aspect of students means that efforts can be passionate at moments and then cycle in and out once students leave. And so, what was pertinent and critical here in Wings was that we had made the passion for menstrual health and equity in permanent by having it take the form of an organization where students will always be cycling in and out, and we will always be recruiting students who are passionate about this effort, and that will always be supported because there's this greater mission to do so. Additionally, the longitudinal effort must be connected to facilities because eventually the program needs to transition from a student-run effort to a fully institutionalized program. Having allies and insiders in admin, being tactful about conversations, these were all things that you might not realize were necessary, but I retrospectively realized that those were very, very important to the success of our program at Hopkins.
What is your hope for the role of the MPI in the future of Hopkins?
Beyond the MPI, it is important that we should continue to advocate for issues regarding gender and health and women's and menstrual equity. So whether that has to do with, very specifically expanding the menstrual products availability beyond the GHU Homewood campus into other graduate schools, across other divisions of the university, because those face different administrative landscapes, and those require different stakeholders to be spoken with. But on top of that, broader, just advocating for gender equity issues that are often, not seen as a problem. I don't think that 20, 30 years ago we would have realized that menstrual products should be in bathrooms for free, like toilet paper is free, like running water is free, paper towels are free, etc. And so, thinking about these things and realizing where it is that we are, we as people, and not just menstruators, but we as people are falling short in serving members of our community. And again, that can be gender related. It can be not gender related. If we want to be critical about it all, we should be thinking about every type of shortcoming and every type of inequity. On an individual level, what are my hopes for the MPI? Since I have since graduated from Hopkins and moved on, I personally aspire to be helping other institutions achieve this fully institutionalized, full implementation of the MPI. And so now I'm currently at Yale, and I'm working here to get the MPI institutionalized for the graduate schools. The undergrads are fully institutionalized. But once we can, now I'm facing unique pushback from bunch of different graduate schools and admin, and there's a small team of people. We're still dealing with the ramifications of COVID, and so it's difficult, it's challenging, but it's just as invigorating and unceasingly meaningful as it was before.